Chào mọi người, mình tên là Mát, mình là người Mỹ, mình đang học tiếng Việt bởi vì vợ của mình đến từ Việt Nam và mình muốn nói với bố mẹ của vợ. Hôm nay mình muốn nói về một giáo viên giỏi quá. Hello everyone. Now that I have introduced myself, or made an attempt to introduce myself in Vietnamese, I'm going to circle back and reintroduce myself in my native language, English, just to talk a little bit about my goals and aspirations and kind of my reasoning behind learning Vietnamese. So, as I mentioned briefly in my Vietnamese introduction, the main reason that I want to learn Vietnamese is because my wife was actually born in Saigon and she moved with her family to the United States when she was 3 years old. Now, my wife and I have been together for over 10 years, and in that time, I've definitely gotten to know her parents better than when we first started dating, but there's definitely still a language barrier there. And I'm really hoping that as I make progress in learning Vietnamese, I'll be able to have more meaningful conversations, get to know them better as people, and ultimately help my wife with some of her familial responsibilities as they get older. Now, beyond the family aspect of learning Vietnamese, I'm also really interested in Vietnamese culture. I'm a very big fan of Vietnamese cuisine. I also know that there's a lot of really interesting Vietnamese media out there that I'm hoping to consume down the line. Kind of on a short-term basis, I'm really into manga, and these are my two favorite mangas, and I've actually started collecting them in Vietnamese. So as I get a little bit further along and being able to understand Vietnamese, I'm really hoping that I'll be able to kind of read these and eventually kind of branch out into Vietnamese novels, television, movies, all that. So that's kind of a little bit of background about me. With all that out of the way, I now want to talk about one of the most important decisions I believe I've made in my Vietnamese learning journey, which is that of reaching out to Ngọc Anh at the Go Vietnamese, the Natural Way YouTube channel. This is a place where she posts a lot of her own comprehensible input content, but she's also got some information on her page about how to reach out to her if you want to have one-on-one tutoring sessions with her. So I first found out about her through her YouTube channel, which she occasionally shares on the Learn Vietnamese subreddit. And I discovered this video here, which I'll show a little snippet of, where she tells a story about a cat that wears shoes. And her teaching style really kind of revolves around telling these stories that are at whatever level you're currently at with your Vietnamese learning journey, drawing pictures, using gestures, and just kind of meeting you at the level where you're at and kind of building from there. The stories are often very funny and very understandable, and there's kind of a range of content all the way from kind of the very, very beginner level up to more intermediate or advanced content if you need to. And then I feel like kind of the real benefit is using her one-on-one lesson. She's got another video on her channel where she does a full demo of the A1 level. So if you watch this video, you can get a very good sense of kind of the teaching style that she'll have with you at the kind of earliest stages of your Vietnamese learning journey. One last thing that I kind of want to share is that she's also got a very in-depth and kind of growing repository of stories at the different CEFR levels. So you can see here she's got a whole bunch of A1 stories, and you'll note that there's a PDF file here that has the story itself. And you can see this one here is very basic. It's very beginner. But then she's also got a recording that goes along with every story. So not only can you read the story, you can hear it read by her, a native Vietnamese speaker, and then kind of just connect the written language with the spoken language. And these are available for pretty much all of the stories that she does with her students. I'm going to pop over here into the A2 level. This Mark series, as I mentioned, my name is Mark. This is actually the very first story that we ever did together when I reached out to her to kind of explain my interest in Vietnamese to her. I told her that I really wanted to learn Vietnamese so that I could speak with my wife's family, specifically her parents, more naturally, and that we often eat food together and have meals together. And she made a whole story kind of around that context. So once you do the one-on-one lessons, you'll get content that's actually created for you that includes you and your interests in the stories that she creates. And it just kind of helps heighten your interest and your investment into the stories. Alrighty, one last thing that I want to talk about is homework. So even though she focuses mainly on comprehensible input stories, that approach to teaching, I'm also very interested in studying grammar and learning to write in Vietnamese a little bit better. So I have a couple of textbooks here that I got from Amazon. So this Elementary Vietnamese, which is what I'm currently working through, and then this Continuing Vietnamese book. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is my assignment from one of those. So each week or every couple of weeks, I'll complete a chapter from the textbook and send her a Google document with my work. And you'll see here on the right side that she gets very detailed with her comments and points out areas where I may have a misunderstanding, or she might even explain some additional context behind the lesson. And you can see here all of her comments are in Vietnamese, so it gives me even more practice with kind of reading Vietnamese in a different context, in this case an educational context. And then with this lesson, actually, I'm pointing out this one specifically because this is where one of the lessons where I actually had kind of a misunderstanding that required us to step back a little bit and her to explain some more things. So in Vietnamese, there are these words zut, lam, and qua. These are basically words that kind of map closely to very or a lot or so much or very much in English. But they're a little bit different in Vietnamese and have some kind of different maybe cultural or social connotations than what these words might normally mean in English. So kind of close, but not necessarily an exact one-to-one mapping. And she identified some misunderstandings that I had, and then kind of circling back to her comprehensible input approach, she even wrote a couple of stories where she showed me how misuse of these words could lead to social misunderstandings, like if you're using them with native Vietnamese speakers. So just as a whole, kind of to wrap up, I'm a huge fan of both this YouTube channel and her approach to teaching. I plan to continue studying with her for a long, long time. And I think it's going to be probably, as I said earlier, one of the most important decisions that I made in my Vietnamese language learning journey. If you're out there looking for a Vietnamese tutor, there's no one really that I would recommend more highly at this point in my language learning. So definitely recommend you reach out. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them and I can comment below and reply in the comments. Have a good day.